This day also signifies the culmination of many years of your hard work in the relentless pursuit of knowledge, to take up courageously the new opportunities and challenges in your life. May I now request the gathering to rise and welcome the dignitaries with a huge round of applause. His Excellency, Most Reverend Dr. Peter Machado, Archbishop of Bangalore, and the Chancellor of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute, accompanied by the guest speaker, Most Reverend Dr. Arul Selvam Rayappan, Bishop of Salem, Reverend Sister Pauline Augustine, Provincial Superior, Sisters of St. Anne Luzerne, Bangalore, Reverend Dr. Anthony Lawrence, President, Reverend Dr. Stanley Fernandez, Registrar, Reverend Dr. Richard Brito, Rector, and the graduating students as they arrive the auditorium. Let us give a huge round of applause. To begin this auspicious occasion, may I invite the Gita rollers to invoke the Almighty. I request all of you to please rise and join the prayer song.
Precious Spirit, come. Holy Spirit, come into me now to touch and heal. Precious Spirit, come. Holy Spirit, come into me now and set me free. Precious Spirit, come. Holy Spirit, come. Come into me now to touch and heal. Precious Spirit, come. Holy Spirit, come. Come into me now and set me free. Oh, let my heart burn with love for my God. Let thy mighty power flow and set me free. Oh, let my heart burn with love for my God. Let thy mighty power flow and set me free. When times of trial come, temptations come my way, let me cling to thy precious love. Prepare me for the day, that great and glorious day, when my Lord comes back to take me home. Oh, let my heart burn with love for my God. Let thy mighty power flow and set me free. Oh, let my heart burn with love for my God. Let thy mighty power flow and set me free. Precious Spirit, come. Holy Spirit, come. Come into me now to touch and heal.
Kindly be seated. To give a red carpet welcome to everyone assembled here, may I take the pleasure of requesting our President, Reverend Dr. Anthony Lawrence, to welcome the gathering.
Your Grace Archbishop, Your Excellency Bishop, Very Reverend Sister Provincial Superior, Father Rector, Father Registrar, esteemed professors and my dear students. I feel deeply honored standing here today to welcome you all to this 44th Convocation ceremony. A day like today is very important for us as it provides us the opportunity to celebrate the incredible hard work and commitment of our awardees. I'm sure the awardees had been longing for this day from so long, and finally this auspicious day has arrived. I truly regard it as an honor and privilege to welcome His Grace Most Reverend Dr. Peter Machado, the Archbishop of BENGALURU, and the Chancellor of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute to this magnificent event. It has been such a blessing for St. Peter's to have a Chancellor like you, Your Grace. Without question, His Grace Archbishop is one of the prophetic leaders of the Church in India, probably the most noted prophetic leader of the Indian Church. He is known as a fiercely outspoken critic of the unjust system and oppressive governance. He visibly and vocally takes the sides of the poor and the least. When untruth and injustice, divisiveness and discrimination, exploitation and exclusion have become the new normal, he can't keep quiet. Your Grace, you are clearly prophetic and endowed with the vision and mission of Jesus, and are not afraid to speak truth to power. You have raised your voice to repressive regimes which do not respect the dignity and the rights of every human being. You are not afraid to take a stand against the Herods and Pilates the scribes and Pharisees of our time, who represent an unjust political system, following the footsteps of Pope Francis, who challenges bishops and priests to defend the poor, the excluded, and the oppressed. Sadly, when the church leadership is seen drifting away from the way of Christ, and many leaders are afraid of taking a stand against the powers that crush the poor, one cannot but recognize the prophetic courage of his Archbishop, which many leaders of the Indian Church desperately need today. It is because you are grounded in your community. Your life of total simplicity and integrity gives greater credibility to your prophetic voice against the exploitation of the poor and the excluded. They say a prophet is the one who troubles the comfortable and comforts the troubled. It is perfectly applicable to you. Through your pro-poor stance and prophetic voice, you are truly one. The church in India needs many more prophets like you. All of us need to emulate the prophetic courage of the Archbishop. Being the Archbishop of a metropolitan see is one of the hardest jobs today. In the midst of, and in spite of your hectic schedule of shepherding ministry in the Archdiocese and the church in Karnataka, you could place the growth of our institute as a top priority. We are amazed at your ability to do so. We are especially grateful to your grace for your ongoing attention and commitment to creating the very best and highly qualified professors for the institute. Of particular importance has been your powerful motivation to the staff to create a culture of regular and constant reading and writing, and thus to improve our research and scholarship and to reach the zenith of excellence. This made an immeasurable impact on our staff, and now many of us have begun to feel that they are personally and professionally rewarding. Without your visionary leadership in general, and particularly your timeless promotion and advocacy for applying for Missio Canonica after the completion of 3 years for all the associate professors of our institute, it would have been impossible for many of us to have received it by now. Your conscious efforts and continuous attention motivated us to scale further heights of success and glory, earning a credible name for the institute. It is like making dreams come true. We do not have words to express our gratitude to you for the dream realizing impact your services have left on us all. All this is part of your dedication and passion to see the elevation of St. Peter's University one day. Your simplicity and integrity, your passion and dedication to the institute are truly unparalleled and an inspiration to all of us. We wish to thank you for your leadership and vision. Our sincerest good wishes and prayers for your good health and fruitful shepherding ministry. While offering your grace, our profound gratitude for all you have done and will continue to do for the institute, we most heartily welcome you. May I request for the rector to honor the Archbishop with a shawl as a sign of our welcome. It is a special pleasure to heartily welcome Most Reverend Dr. Arul Selvam Rayappan, who is going to deliver the keynote address to our convocation ceremony. I'm sure more than anyone in the hall, Bishop Arul Selvam Rayappan's association with St. Peter's is unsurpassed. For 31 long years, he was professor at St. Peter's. Bishop was born on 18th November 1960 in Sathupet in the Archdiocese of Pondicherry, Kadalur. After his minor seminary formation in St. Agnes Seminary, Kadalur in 1978, his lordship was sent to Christ Hall Seminary, Madurai for philosophy, which he completed in 1981. He did his theology at St. Peter's Pontifical Seminary from 1982 to 86. He was ordained priest for the Archdiocese of Pondicherry, Kadalur on 20th May 1986. He was recruited to be on the staff of St. Peter's Pontifical Seminary Institute in 1990. He obtained a master's in canon law from St. Peter's Pontifical Institute from 1990 to 92 and doctorate in canon law from Pontifical Urban University, Rome from 1992 to 1994. He served as Vice Rector, St. Agnes Minor Seminary, Kadalur from 86 to 88, as Assistant Parish Priest at Viriyur and Karaikal from 88 to 89, and Parish Priest at Kurumbakaram from 89 to 90. After his studies in Rome since 1994, His Excellency had been teaching canon law at St. Peter's Pontifical Institute, Bangalore. He was then director of the Center of Canon Law Studies at St. Peter's Pontifical Institute from 1996 to 2001 and again from 2019 to 2001. And Vice Rector, St. Peter's Pontifical Seminary from 2000 to 2006. President of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute from 2010 to 2017. Secretary of CCBA Commission for Canon Law and Legislative Text from 2010 to 2018. He was also President of the Canon Law Society of Tamil Nadu for 2 terms and Secretary General of Canon Law Society of India for a term. His Lordship was also President of the Canon Law Society of India for 2 terms from 2013 to 2017. His Excellency Most Reverend Dr. Arul Selvam Rayappan was nominated Bishop of Salem on 31st May 2021 and was consecrated Bishop of Salem on 4th August 2021. The Bishop has far too many outstanding qualities to be narrated here. Your Lordship, as many of us here have witnessed in you, you are truly the one who epitomizes hard work, perseverance, an unfailing spirit to succeed despite all odds. Your Excellency, you are an outstanding professor, an impeccable orator, an excellent sportsman, and an able administrator. It was always a pleasure being in your class. The entire class used to be awestruck by your tremendous memory. The best things you have taught your students were not just in the curriculum, but in the example you have set. Your confidence, determination, and excellence are all qualities that many of us have been inspired by. Your talks and homilies are highly captivating and so stirring and have a lasting impact on your listeners. When you speak, time will fly by too fast. You are never at a loss for appropriate expressions. Your enthusiasm and passion will be so infectious that the audience will be kept enthralled. I'm sure today too we will be thoroughly engaged and learn a great deal from your deeply insightful presentation. It will not be an exaggeration if I say, as an internationally renowned canonist, you are a supreme court for the canonical matters for the bishops in India. I don't think there is any diocese or major religious order in India which has not profited from out of your expertise, either by way of retreat preaching or consultation in canonical concerns. St. Peter's always took pride of such stalwarts like you. You added credit substantially to the name and fame of St. Peter's as the most consulted canonist of India. We are grateful to your Excellency for contributing to the very fabric of St. Peter's. We assure your Excellency of our prayers and support in carrying out your episcopal responsibilities. We invoke upon you abundant blessings from God and wish you good health as you courageously carry out your responsibilities in your diocese and the Church in India. As we are deeply appreciative of the fact that you have devoted your invaluable time to us, we wholeheartedly extend to your Excellency our warmest welcome. My request now for the Registrar to honor His Excellency with a shawl. I am immensely thankful to the guest of honor, Very Reverend Sister Pauline Augustine, the Provincial Superior of St. Anne, Luzerne, Bangalore. Though we approached her with our request to grace the occasion rather late, she accepted our request willingly. Sister Pauline Augustine was born in Thodapuzha, Idukki, in the Diocese of Kodamangalam, Kerala. She gave her first commitment on 21st November 1994 and her final commitment on 8th December 1999. She is a holder of Masters in Science. She holds also a B.Ed. She served 8 years as a principal of a college at Panangudi, Tamil Nadu, 2 years as a principal in a college at Madavaram, Tamil Nadu, 4 years as a vice provincial from 2006 to 2010, 8 years as provincial superior, 2 terms from 2010 to 2018, 4 years as principal Panangudi again from 2019 to 2022. At present, again elected for the third term as the provincial superior of the congregation from 2023. She has too many qualities. The fact that she has been elected as the provincial superior for the third term speaks volumes for her incredible leadership qualities. She is a charismatic, compassionate, diligent, authentic, passionate and visionary leader. A leader by birth, friendly by nature, with great love for the poor, with incredible missionary zeal. She always walks extra miles to build people and communities, ever giving and never counting, all for the glory of God. It is a great pleasure to welcome such a noble personality as our guest of honor today. Dear sister, while we thank you for honoring us with your gracious presence, we welcome you most heartily, dear sister Pauline. Very Reverend Father Richard, Rector of St. Peter's Pontifical Seminary, is indeed a pillar of support to our institute. He always thinks of attaining greater heights for the institute. He is a highly foresighted leader. He has a lot of plans both for the seminary and the institute. His cordial collaboration and cooperation to the smoother functioning of the institute needs to be gratefully acknowledged here. Dear Father Richard, the entire institute is thankful to you for your generosity and spirit of dedication towards the growth of the institute. A very hearty welcome to you, dear Father Rector, to the solemn convocation program. Thank you. Reverend Dr. Stanisy Fernandez is known well as a systematic official of the institute to any work that is assigned to him. He humbly guides me too to perform my duties well. He attends to the day-to-day functioning of the institute. He meticulously plans about organizing the institute programs and sees to it that the SRs and ASRs deliver goods. Dear Father Stani, we sincerely appreciate your commitment to your duties and we welcome you warmly to this function. The institute is also blessed to have the talented and dedicated administrative and academic authorities. Reverend Father Sunil D'Souza, a gentle and cordial person, the treasurer of the institute, more involved and ever active towards the growth of the institute. Reverend Dr. Lur Sami, the controller of the examinations. Reverend Father Rex Sylvester Alex, the librarian. Reverend Dr. Anthony Dias, the Dean of Theology. Reverend Dr. Arnold Magesh, the Dean of Philosophy. And Reverend Father Amal Raj, the director of the Center of Canon Law Studies. Reverend Dr. Stanley Kumar, the HOD of the Biblical Studies, the senior most in the campus after Father A.M. and Father Chani, who guides all of us. And Reverend Dr. Joseph Titus, the former president, and Reverend Father Stanisy Fernandez, head of the Department of Missiology, and heads of the different departments. They deliver day in and day out to keep the institute moving forward and serving our students with distinction. We heartily welcome all of you, dear fathers. Friends, we are happy and thankful to the Board of Bishops of Administration of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute for having blessed us with a new staff member for the Center of Canon Law Studies. He is Father Anthony Raj, fondly called as Tony, from the Diocese of Chengalpet. Father Tony completed his studies in MCL in 2013 in our institute, and he received his doctorate in Urbaniana in 2020. We thank his bishop for offering our institute his valuable service. We heartily welcome him and wish him every best in his teaching ministry. Welcome, dear Father. St. Peter's Pontifical Institute keeps growing and grooming every single day because of the highly ambitious and committed faculty. It is their courage and hard work and patience which have helped in producing bright students who have done well in their respective subjects. Many of them today have reached extreme heights. The credit is shared also by the committed staff. Without you, dear esteemed professors, it would not have been possible for these awardees to tread such a great path. We are impressed and inspired by your hard work, dedication, and talents that you contribute to our overall efforts of building a well-reputed institute. Kindly accept our sincere sentiments of welcome, dear distinguished faculties. Our office staff too work day in, day out, often behind the curtains. It will be unfair on my part if I do not mention them by name. Madam Bhanumati, who practically does works of the four officials, Mr. Pavitra, David, Pati, Sidhu, Lima, Louis, Rayapan, Roland, and other non-teaching staff, put on full display when it means to go above and beyond in service to our institute, and do so with enthusiastic energy and boundless positivity. Your selfless efforts are to be commended, and we are forever grateful for your significant contributions, and we welcome you too happily to this program. The institute has not left any stone unturned in making its students good human beings, excellent pastors, and worthy citizens. Our institute is so proud of all you have accomplished and every achievement you have garnered for yourself. You all have been excellent performers in academics and won so many awards, dear awardees. And you did not hold back even in extracurricular activities. Feel proud that you have been part of this institute. We extend our wholehearted welcome to each one of you, dear awardees. I would like to say that an institute's fame rests not only on its administration and teaching staff, but also on the achievements and developments of its students. We are extremely proud and fortunate that you, students, have been an important part of our institute and will always remain so in our hearts forever. We offer you our warmest welcome. Welcome, dear friends. Before I end my welcome address, I wish the awardees the courage and patience to deal with the struggles and come out to be stronger and more determined. May you get to achieve your goals and become victorious in every sphere of life and past ministry. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Father, for your gracious words of welcome. I take immense delight in requesting our President, Reverend Dr. Anthony Lawrence, the sculptor of determination and self-confidence, who incessantly chisels the excellence of the individuals. May I now request Reverend Dr. Anthony Lawrence, the President, to invite the Chancellor to declare the 44th Convocation open.
I have the honor to request the Chancellor to light the lamp and to declare the convocation open.
The Convocation of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute has been called to confer degrees, diplomas, and certificates who in the examinations held for the purpose have been certified to be worthy of the same. I declare the convocation open.
Kindly rise for the scripture reading. May I now request Brother Naveen Kumar to come forward and read the Holy Scripture from the letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians, chapter 1, verses 15 to 23.
A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians. I have heard of your faith in the Lord Jesus and your love toward all the saints. And for this reason, I do not cease to give thanks for you as I remember you in my prayers. I pray that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of glory, may give you a spirit of wisdom and revelation as you come to know him, so that with the eyes of your heart enlightened, you may know what is the hope to which he has called you, what are the riches of his glorious inheritance among the saints, and what is the immeasurable greatness of his power for us who believe, according to the working of his great power. God put all this power to work in Christ when he raised from the dead and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly places, for above all rule and authority and power and dominion, and above every name that is named, not only in this age, but also in the age to come. And he has put all this under his feet, and has made him the head over all things for the church, which is his body, the fullness of him who fills all in all. The word of the Lord.
Let the candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Theology, Master of Theology, Master of Canon Law, Bachelor of Theology, and Bachelor of Philosophy stand up and make the profession of faith. Your Grace, I beg to present to you these candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Theology, Master of Theology, Master of Canon Law, Bachelor of Theology, Bachelor of Philosophy, Diploma in Theology, Diploma in Philosophy, and Certificate in Theology. They have been examined and found qualified for the said degrees, diplomas, and certificates, to which I pray they may be admitted.
I am happy to admit all of you for the various degrees, diplomas, and certificates awarded by this institute, and I charge you that in your life and conversation you show yourself worthy of the same.
Kindly be seated. I call upon the Archbishop, the Vice Chancellor, to come and give out the certificates. Doctorate in Theology, Indian Institute of Spirituality, Bangalore, Sister Bincy George. Licentiate in Theology, Missiology, give a big round of applause, Jerome Satyam S.M. Sister Anita Mary. Arul Anand, kindly give a big round of applause. Tony Thomas. Licentiate in Philosophy, Anthony Felix. Our own professor, I will give him a big round of applause. Licentiate in Canon Law, Anto Paulson, Bregel Victor. Indian Institute of Spirituality, licensed in Theology, Jim Thomas. L. Rex Alex Sylvester. Michael Dicuna. Romeo Augustine. Look at the photo. Sebastian Lazar. And Cine Paul. Bachelor in Theology, Cyril Sagar, Emmanuel Anthony, and Praveen Kumar. Anthony Rajasi, Pavan Anthony J, and Vicky DS. Anton Fernandez, Peter Nazareth, and Kirti Kiran. Sanjay D'Souza, Sanjay Ivanes, and Dinato Joseph. Alvin Kumar, James Peter, and Susai A. Joseph Milton, Emmanuel Murmu, Reginald Pinto. Sanjay Indwar, Anil Rodriguez, Francis Fernandez. Anto P. Philip, Naveen Kumar, and Praveen V. Auxilium Selva Kumar, Gio Francis, John Rex. Dominic Dong, Maria Prakasam, and Walter A. Santosh Kumar J, David Stanley, and Lurdu Raj. Sahai Lebin David, Govind Kujur, and Sikka Kumar. Now, may I call upon Bishop Rayappan to give away the certificates, please. Alphonsus Institute's students are not come for the practice there. I call upon the names here. No problem. Amrut Kevin, Nirmal Kumar, and Dara Ravi Teja. Kindly come. Jackson Souls and Sebastian Joseph Karakal. Darshan Institute of Theology, Bangalore, Lal Biaklua, Stanis Bastam Lopez, and Milton Fernandez. Anthony Melvin Pradeep, Leo Kiangte, Jason Roy, and Michael Das. Bachelor in Philosophy, Joe Peter Jashant, Sister Jasmine Judith, and Infant Xavier. Jnana Raj B, Joel Christopher, I request Bishop and the President to take their seat. Your Grace, I request you to admit the following candidates to the degrees and diplomas and certificates in absentia.
The certificates are given in your absent also, okay? Yeah. I'm happy to admit all these candidates to the respective degrees, diplomas in absentia.
Chief. Biblical Theology, Gorantla Charles S. Elangovan, Preetham Singh Vasunia, and in Missiology, Balraj, Lenin Anthony P., and Henry Kishore. Licentiate in Philosophy, Alexander, Licentiate in Canon Law, Anthony Das, Jayaraj Ignatius, John Cyril Zachariah, and the following. Indian Institute of Spirituality, Doctorate in Absentia, Father Matthew Joseph, Licentiate in Theology, Matthew K.M., Stephen, Charles Caesar, and the following. St. Paul's Institute of Theology, Trichy, Vivin Rodrigue, Manoj J., Simon Adlus, and the following. St. Paul's Institute of Theology, Trichy, John Bosco M., Vijay Babu, and Prakash A., and the following. Good Shepherd Seminary, Coimbatore, A. Amburaj, C. Anthony John Victor, Edwin Simon, and the following. Capuchin Vidya Bhavan, Kottayam, Akhil Joseph, Akhil Pius, Anup Augustine, and the following. Bodhi Institute of Theology, Kollam, Anthony Vincent, Pratap Kulu, Bipin Raj, and the following. Francesco Capuchin Theological Institute, Trichy, J. Robert, S. J. Sebastian, A. Amos Raj, A. Arul Anand, and the following. Sacred Heart College, Punamalai, Chennai, Albin Jose A., Anish A., Anish B. and the following. B.Ph. degree in absentia, Rahul David, Sandeep Paul, Rakesh K. and the following. Thank you.
A true teacher would never tell you what to do, but he would give you the knowledge with which you decide what would be the best for you to do. I am extremely happy to invite Most Reverend Dr. Arul Selvam Rayappan, Bishop of Salem, an inspiring teacher and a distinguished orator, and the former director of Canon Law Studies and the former president of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute to deliver the Convocation address.
Most Reverend Dr. Peter Machado, the Archbishop of Bengaluru, Chancellor of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute, and Chairman of the Board of Administration of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute and Seminary. Reverend Father Anthony Lawrence, the President of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute, Reverend Father Richard Brito, the Rector of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute, Reverend Sister Pauline Augustine, the Provincial of Sisters of St. Anne of Luzerne, Reverend Father Stanley Fernandez, the Registrar of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute. My dear esteemed professors, my dear guests and well-wishers of St. Peter's Pontifical Seminary and Institute, my dear students of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute, more especially the graduates, the doctorate holders, the certificate holders and the diploma holders, the stars of today. Right from 1982, I have participated in most of the convocation celebrations at this very auditorium. For 5 years, I was not present after joining the staff. 3 years, I had to be away from the country. And now, 2 years, as Bishop, I was not present. I am happy that I am here today to deliver the convocation address. 44th convocation is today. Only Father Legrand and Father A.M. Joseph would have attended more convocations, celebrations here than me. Otherwise, I am very happy to be here. I had to give the welcome address for 7 long years as President. As Father Lawrence was delivering the welcome address, I recalled I too had to prepare. And 6 years as Controller of Examination, I had to work with the Secretary in the office in preparing the marks for the great day. Anyhow, I am happy that today so many of our students are getting their degrees and diplomas. It has a double purpose. The first purpose is to celebrate your success. Secondly, it is to launch you into the mission that it may be fruitful, committed, and dedicated. From formees, you become formators. From learners, you become educators. You have an enormous responsibility of building up a loving community by making the maximum of what St. Peter's has given you. In terms of knowledge, wisdom, skills, and formation. You are called to be leaders who walk the talk. You are called to be prophets, as Father Lawrence said. describing our Archbishop. You are not called to be puppets, but really prophets. You are called to be channels of peace wherever you are sent and to whomever you are going to minister. According to me, the primary task of any disciple of Christ, for that matter of any leader, is to keep the community entrusted to them united. What is the use of all our studies if we are causing divisions and conflicts? If we are not in communion with others, if we are not able to cooperate with others, I think our study, our formation at St. Peter's must help us to be builders of peace and communion. You are not strangers to the history of wars and conflicts in the world and in our own country. In recent times, the Russian-Ukraine war, the Manipur conflict, in the last 30 years, some of the horrible wars, Rwandan genocide, Second Congo war, Syrian civil war, Darfur conflict, Afghanistan war, and Yemen civil war. Now, science has advanced so much. An anonymous hand can push the button and there will be a launch of the missile, and the whole world will experience untold tragedy. All over the world, people have inflicted unspeakable violence on other people. Brutality can be as intimate as it is global. Our cruelties are played out in the intimacy of our dioceses, religious congregations, parishes, and our communities, and even homes. You can't be a dispassionate observer of crime and cruelty as you are launched from St. Peter's. At the same time, today I want to share with you the message of hope. Catalogue of injuries, hurts, hatred is not the whole story of humanity. We are indeed made for something more. We are made for goodness. We are all fundamentally good. Evil and wrong are aberrations. You have studied the Pentateuch, especially the book of Genesis, very well. The first 5 days of creation is born from the mouth of God with the words, "Let there be light, oceans, heavens, skies, seas." But then, the 6th day, the Lord deliberates, "Let us make man in our own image and likeness." Let us. We are God's representative. We are the stewards of creation. After each of the 5 days, God said it was good. And on the 6th day, God said it was very good. We are endowed with goodness, not merely goodness, but creativity. Ephesians 2nd chapter, 10th verse, I quote often in my homilies. You are the masterpiece of God. You have been created in the Lord Jesus to do good. Be good and do good, starting with your own dear ones, and build communion. The communion we share finds its deepest roots in the love and unity of the Trinity. It is Christ who reconciles us to the Father, and unites us with each other in the Holy Spirit. What is needed as the preparation for the forthcoming synod says, humility to listen. Get rid of all prejudices and stereotypes. Be open to conversion and change. Have the inclusive mentality. I have taught canon law for many years, especially the second book of the code. It speaks about various levels of relationship with the bishop, as priests, with your superiors, as religious. You should have communion. By incoordination, you are available for ministry. You have a superior. Your basic needs will be taken care of. You should never be a student of St. Peter's when you are not in communion with your provincial or with your respective bishop. Communion, working together. Communion with other priests also is important. Canon 275, paragraph 1 says, In prayer and brotherhood, all priests are united because they are working for the same purpose, that is, building up of the body of Christ. Some of you are assistant priests. You should not be such a problem or torment to your parish priests. Cooperation, collaboration, your witness of being counts more than your witness of doing. And communion with the religious. Sometimes religious say PP means problematic person, not parish priest. Who is APP? Another problematic person, not assistant parish priest. And it often happens, some of the priests say, whenever a word begins with C, they have a headache, it seems. The choir, the catechist, the cook, the convent, everything gives them headache, it seems. There must be communion. Religious on their part are in the church. Their gifts are for the church. They are of the church. They don't run a parallel church. Teaching canon law and religious, I always say, you should remember some of these canons, always, 578, about the patrimony, the intention of the founder, and then lawful traditions, the nature, purpose, spirit, character of the institute. This is to be held most holy and must be protected by everybody. There is some kind of autonomy for each of the religious congregation. Why? It is to protect their charism and patrimony. At the same time, religious are subject to the diocesan bishop with regard to liturgical matters, with regard to the care of souls, with regard to the apostolate. You have to understand the basis of all this and live together, work for the same kingdom. And then also about our own communion with the laity. We need to promote the communion with the laity by respecting them, by involving them actively in the participatory structures. You must be builders of communion, my dear students, at all levels. We remember always the high priestly prayer of Jesus, John 17th chapter. Jesus is praying to the Father earnestly that his disciples are one. There is a Matthean model of evangelization, that is, go and preach, go and heal, do something. But John 9 model of evangelization is primarily through communion. By your love for one another, the world will know that you are my disciples. Do not forget also the John 9 model of evangelization. Psalm 133, how good and delightful to see when brothers live in unity. It is like the precious oil poured on Aaron's head, running down the beard, and then reaching the collar of his robes. a life of communion, love, peace, serenity. In fact, the spirituality of communion must define formation at all levels in the church. The candidates for priesthood, Canon 245, paragraph 2 says, must be taught to love the Holy Father, the Roman Pontiff, and their own bishop. By their fraternal life in the seminary, they must be trained to work together with the diocesan presbyterium and be really men of communion. Canon 529, paragraph 2 says, the parish priest must take it as his chief obligation to build up parochial communion. Not only parochial communion, but communion with the diocese and the whole universal church. St. Paul says that Jesus Christ is our peace. The graduates, may the people say, our assistant parish priest is our peace. You ought to be the Prince of Peace, Isaiah 9th chapter, 5th verse. We proclaim the gospel of peace, Acts 10th chapter, 31st verse. Overcome all obstacles to communion. Refusal to forgive, hostility, bitterness, anger, slander, malice. More importantly, ego. Some build tension because of ego, or prejudices of language, caste are absolutely and utterly ridiculous in God's eyes. Each of us is created in the image of God. We are God carriers. We are His viceroy. We are His representative. Our communion, our being builder of peace, can be facilitated when we do lot of sacrifice. So many mothers in our own homes do a lot of sacrifice. I recall an incident in the life of Bishop Desmond Tutu. He was in a boarding home. For weekend he came home, but he did not have enough money to travel from Kruger's door to Westbury to buy the train ticket. His mother was working in a white man's home, cleaning, washing, ironing. She was paid 2 shillings per day. The mother made Bishop Desmond Tutu, the little boy, walk along with her to that home and got 2 shillings, which would be paid at the end of the day, already in the morning, and sent this little boy back to the boarding home. Bishop Tutu thinks about that incident. My mother is going to work the whole day, knowing that at the end of the day, she is not going to be paid anything. She had to walk home, knowing that she has no money for the bus. She has to walk back to her workplace the next day and work to get those 2 shillings. Bishop Tutu also speaks about his own grandmother who was returning from work in a white man's home. All the grandchildren will bounce on her to get what she had brought. You little dogs, why are you tormenting me? She used to scold them. But then the lady had saved for the grandchildren jam and bread, which was given to her for breakfast in the morning. When you do sacrifice, then you can build communion. The mother and grandmother of Bishop Tutu did sacrifice and built communion. Secondly, you need to constantly forgive. My dear brothers and sisters, Nelson Mandela, again I go to that South African experience, did not emerge from 27 years of prison life with hatred and revenge. She became a heroic embodiment of reconciliation and forgiveness. Don't think that you struggled hard in the seminary. You were misunderstood by your professors. You were made fun of by other students. No, the more you suffer, the more you are called to forgive. He had to work in the lime quarry, futile drudgery, breaking rocks into small pieces, but then became more and more compassionate. We have to be compassionate, magnanimous. We should have communion with God, with others. At the same time, communion not at the cost of justice. We need not be pugnacious, but we should be tenacious. Peace is not absence of quarrel. Peace is presence of justice. In that way, we should be not peacekeepers, but peacemakers. Create a just society, but still sacrifice quite a lot. And forgive generously. Let all those who come in contact with you, my dear graduates, realize that they have nothing to fear from you. Then St. Peter's Pontifical Institute can be proud of you. Nothing to fear from you. That they can approach you without reservations and can hold your hand in friendship. You should not be rivals, but friends. You must not be obstacles to people, but true help. Inspire confidence. Reduce friction. Soften out rough edges. Peace with ourselves. Peace with others. Peace with God. Forgive yourself also. Romans 14:17, the kingdom of God is peace and joy in the Holy Spirit. 15:33, may the God of peace be always with you. That is the way normally St. Paul greets his listeners. Radiate peace and communion. May people enter your vital space and feel your inner caress of a transcendent stillness that quietens the spirit and inspires calmness. The risen Lord communicated peace to the disciples. He said peace, but then remember, he was showing his wounds. He was showing the scars. That was his Aadhaar card. If you want to communicate peace, tell people you have worked hard. You have suffered for them. If you are really a sign of communion to the people, then show your sufferings. Forgive generously. Always work hard generously. In this way, you should really bring meaning to your degrees, and you will show your gratitude to St. Peter's. God bless you.
Thank you, Your Grace, for your inspiring and stimulating message. It will enable us to embrace opportunities and take on challenges with clear vision and purpose. Vision needs visionaries, and we are blessed to have one among us. Here is someone who sees the future by understanding the present, learning from the past. He is also a man of strong faith and conviction, takes lot of interest in the welfare of the society. I deem it a privilege to request His Excellency, Most Reverend Dr. Peter Machado, Archbishop of Bangalore, and the Chancellor of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute, to illuminate our minds with his message.
Most Reverend Bishop Rayapan, Bishop of Salem, dear Father Lawrence, the President of the Institute, Father Stanley, the Registrar, my dear Sister Pauline, the chief guest of today's function, my dear Father Rector, Rector of the Seminary, Father Richard Brito, my dear students, fathers, brothers, sisters, let me first congratulate you on your achieving this success and successfully completing and today receiving the certificates, diplomas on this Convocation Day. It's my joy to greet you and to see that you have climbed one step, perhaps some two, some more steps in your life. There is a tinge of always, I don't say, discontent or perhaps dissatisfaction, but deep down we normally say, I could have done better. I could have done a little more. I could have got some more marks. But then this is a passing phase. One of our priests told me that during his time that he had a choice, the professor gave a choice of 12 themes to study, and he had studied 11 of them and left only one for chance. Unfortunately, he was asked the 12th one only. Could have happened to any of you. But that doesn't matter because ultimately you were somewhere close to perhaps the good answers, the correct answers. I don't know whether I told you about that small little girl who was admitted to KG class, and there also they were giving some prizes for some competitions and something. And so one day she brought a prize at home. Mommy was surprised. Hey, how could this girl get a prize so fast? She doesn't know the alphabet. She doesn't know anything. But then she said, I got this prize. And what was the competition? The teacher asked one question and we had to give answers. And I gave the answer. What was the question? How many legs does the cow have? How many legs the cow has? And she said, how much did you say? I said 5. And the mother was shocked. The cow has 5 legs and you got the prize. He said, no, mine was the answer that was closest to the right answer. So I'm sure many of you have given answers to the closest answer, but not the answer itself. So don't get disappointed, surely you do well. Bishop Rayapan has given a beautiful convocation address as to what is expected of us, not only as intellectuals, but also as pastors. Ultimately, our knowledge has no significance if it is not put into practice in our own parishes, our houses of formation, our institutions, and perhaps our own dioceses or religious congregations. Beautiful examples that he gave, which are very touching at the same time. That also shows that Bishop Rayapan is not only an intellectual, but very, very pastoral. I would like to just mention, perhaps because Bishop Rayapan gave the convocation address, I give the conclusion address. And I would like to say that perhaps in our studies, ultimately our focus is on the Trinity, and ultimately the Trinity, Father, Son and the Holy Spirit, decide the content of our knowledge. You know, the Holy Spirit, we speak of the gifts of the Holy Spirit. There are these 3 gifts which are very much connected with our intellectual life. The gift of knowledge, the gift of wisdom, and the gift of discernment. The gift of knowledge, we know that we learn perhaps I don't know how many of you have covered the books in the library. There are thousands of there, perhaps you have done 50, 60. It's not finished, we have to go on. But then the biggest knowledge or the highest knowledge is to say that I still don't know many things. I'm still ignorant. You know, there's a beautiful Psalm sentence that says, the beginning of the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And therefore, don't say that perhaps God knows much more than us, and our knowledge is perhaps, we can call it bookish knowledge or intellectual knowledge. That's not sufficient. The second gift is the gift of wisdom, one of the beautiful gifts. You know, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is perhaps you obtain and you gain, but wisdom is a flash. Wisdom is a flash. I would say all the comprehensive exams are wisdom, because you prepare something and the professor asks you something else. And what you say, that is wisdom. And the Holy Spirit guides us to say, the wisdom is to say the right thing at the right time, to the right person. You say the right thing at the wrong time, that's not wisdom. And very often when we come out from the exams, we remember I should have said this, but there's no use now, the exam is already over. So the wisdom comes from God. As I said, it's a flash. Many of us, you know, I met recently an IAS officer. He said, when I sat in front of the interview board, there were 12 of them. And the questions that we're asking were nowhere in whatever syllabus that I had prepared. But then God gave me the wisdom to answer at that moment, that particular situation, and that is wisdom. And the third is discernment, or prudence we call it. You know, as you learn, as you climb up the steps, there are so many things that come into our life. But to discern and say, this is number one, this is number two, this is number three, to put these priorities in our life, that's discernment. And that's the gift of the Holy Spirit, which is very much needed. Perhaps St. Augustine gives us a small clue or formula of discernment. In all things that are common or perhaps useful, he says unity. Unity. In things that are not important, accidental, he says diversity. But in everything, charity. In everything, charity. So therefore, this is perhaps the discernment that we have to do. And these are the three gifts that God gives you. Perhaps we have not given you along with the certificates, but you are endowed with these three gifts of knowledge, wisdom, and discernment, which I am sure you will make good use of. You know, the Holy Father, rather the Holy See, has already sent us the notice of what's called the Jubilee, Ordinary Jubilee year in 2025. That means every 25 years we celebrate the birth of Jesus. The year 2000, perhaps you might remember, it was a great jubilee. And so every 25 years we remember this jubilee of incarnation, and the Holy See says that we have to prepare for this jubilee with 3-year preparation. 3-year preparation. This year, 2023, is called the year of learning. The year of learning. Surely we have much, much to learn. And perhaps we can ask why the Holy See or the Holy Father asks us to learn. Because the more we learn, the more we perhaps get identified or identity of the person, and therefore the person of Jesus, the person of the saints. These are the things that we have to learn. 2024 is considered the year of praying. The year of praying. And 2025, the Jubilee year itself, as the year of pilgrimages or the year of hope, as it were. And I'm sure St. Peter's withstands tall, not only in formation but also intellectual studies. You will have the joy of not only representing your own congregation diocese, but India as a Lord. We have need of prophets. We have need of saints. We have need of thinkers. We have need of people who are ready to sacrifice. And I am sure that St. Peter's Institute, Pontifical Institute, prepares you for this God bless you as you rise higher and higher. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Grace, for having blessed us with your ideas and inspiring our minds. May I call upon Your Grace to declare the conclusion of the convocation ceremony.
My dear fathers, brothers, sisters, though the convocation is not yet closed, they are asking me to close it earlier because I have to go somewhere for another meeting. I hereby bring the convocation to conclusion. Thank you.
Now I call upon Very Reverend Sister Pauline Augustine, Provincial Superior, Sisters of St. Anne Luzerne, to felicitate the degree holders.
Your Grace, Most Reverend Peter Machado, Archbishop of Bangalore and Chancellor of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute, Your Excellency, Most Reverend Dr. Arul Selvan Rayappan, Bishop of Salem, Reverend Dr. Father Anthony Lawrence, President, Reverend Dr. Richard Brito, Director, Reverend Dr. Stanley Fernandez, Registrar, members of the faculty, the graduates of the day, Reverend Fathers, brothers, sisters, a very grace-filled and pleasant morning to all of you. It is indeed a great honor and privilege for me to be in your midst on this auspicious occasion of the 44th Convocation of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute. My sincere gratitude to Reverend Father Lawrence, the President of this institute, for inviting me to this august occasion, which is a unique and exceptional opportunity for a person like me. Our esteemed graduates of the day, please accept my heartiest congratulations and prayerful wishes to each one of you on this day of your graduation. The fulfillment of your consistent dedication to the divine sciences. You have had the opportunity to devote a significant part of your precious life to get to know and master the revelations of the Divine Master. You are now not mere holders of some strange degrees, but of sacred sciences. You have acquired a good mastery over the topics very relevant and necessary for your future mission, spending time at the learning corners of this renowned Center of Ecclesiastical Studies. You were guided by veteran scholars whose services to the Church of India is ever praiseworthy. I am overjoyed to see that this assembly is also partially invaded by the presence of women religious from different congregations. I take delight in the progressive transformation and advancement of the women religious of India during the last 2.5 decades. We, the women religious of India, contribute a lot to the Church through our life of consecration and missionary services. The institutions like St. Peter's contribute towards deepening our theoretical foundations in the scriptural, theological, and missiological traditions. Pope Francis spoke at multiple occasions that the role of women in the Church is to establish harmony. She is harmony. In the beautiful and perfect creation of God at the Garden of Eden, the missing harmony was brought through the presence of a woman. On the great day of Pentecost, the great feast of harmony and unity, another woman capable of understanding the divine language was instrumental for the arrival of the Holy Spirit. Today, you men and women who are capable of comprehending the divine languages are sent out with degrees to the vineyard of the Lord. Here is a quote from the homily of our Holy Father, Pope Francis, for the Holy Christmas 2023. Fixing our eyes on Jesus is a grace that we as priests, I add also women religious, need to cultivate. At the end of the day, we do well to gaze upon the Lord and let Him gaze upon our hearts, not as an accounting of our sins, but as a loving act of contemplation in which we review our day with the eyes of Jesus, seeing its graces and gifts and giving thanks for all that He has done for us, but also set before Him our temptations so as to acknowledge them and reject them. Dear friends, I pray that these words of our Holy Father get imprinted in our hearts and become a genuine daily practice. Also, consider these degrees as an anointing from the Lord for a new beginning. And let your new beginnings be in favor of the kingdom of God. Once again, my sincere congratulations, felicitations, and best wishes. I assure you of my prayers for a blessed and fruitful mission ahead for God's kingdom. God bless you abundantly. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, dear sister, for your words of encouragement. The great footballer Pele said, "Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing or learning to do." It's a time to felicitate our toppers for the efforts put in by them throughout their academic endeavor. May I request the President to read out the names of the toppers of this year. May I also request Very Reverend Sister Pauline Augustine, Provincial Superior, to give away the prizes.
St. Peter's Pontifical Institute is happy to honor and encourage the cash award the first three rank holders of Bachelor in Philosophy and Bachelor in Theology. The first two rank holders will receive a cash award from Reverend Father K.J. Thomas Memorial Fund. The former students of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute from Kerala took the initiative in establishing Reverend Father K.J. Thomas Memorial Fund. We appreciate their initiative. On this occasion, we remember gratefully Reverend Father K.J. Thomas and his contribution to St. Peter's Pontifical Seminary and the Institute. He was the former rector of St. Peter's Pontifical Seminary and the former president of St. Peter's Pontifical Institute. May his soul rest in peace. The third rank holder will obtain a cash award from Anjula Thomas Memorial Fund. Mr. Thomas is a devout layperson and a well-wisher of St. Peter's. Presently, he is in the States. Even when his beloved wife was still alive, both came forward to establish a memorial fund to encourage the outstanding students of St. Peter's. Late Mrs. Manjula comes from a pious Christian family. Her grandfather, Mr. Benjamin Monicum, was one of the three persons responsible for building Christ the King Church with the permission of the then Archbishop Pothakamari. Mrs. Manjula was herself outstanding in studies. She obtained 3 degrees, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Law, and Bachelor of Education. We remember gratefully Mr. Thomas and Mrs. Manjula Thomas and pray for the repose of her soul. I request once again Sister Pauline Augustine, the Provincial Superior, to give away the prizes to the first 3 rank holders in Bachelor of Philosophy and Bachelor of Theology. The first 3 rank holders in the Bachelor of Theology. The third rank is secured by Deacon Praveen K. The second rank is taken by Brother Emmanuel Anthony C. The first rank is secured by Brother Seru Sagar, CMR. Bachelor in Philosophy. The third rank goes to Brother Infant Xavier S. Sister Jasmine Judith D gets the second rank. Brother Joe Peter Jashant is ranked first in the class.
Thank you, dear sister, and congratulations, dear brothers and sisters, for your achievement. We are all proud of you and wish you all the best for your future ministry. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others. May I now invite the Registrar of the Institute, Reverend Dr. Stanley Fernandez, to express the words of gratitude.
Your Excellency, Most Reverend Dr. Arul Silvam Rayappan, Very Reverend Sister Pauline Augustine, the President, Rector, officials, deans, HODs, staff, guests, and the students. We are Eucharistic people. Thanksgiving and gratitude is a Christian way. Most Reverend Dr. Peter Machado, Chancellor of our Institute and Archbishop of Bangalore, presided over the function and awarded the degrees and diplomas. It is an honor for every one of us and the students to receive the certificates from our beloved Chancellor. Our Chancellor is the guiding spirit who gears the Institute to excellence. His keen interest in the Institute motivates us to work harder. In his absence, we overwhelmingly thank him, his grace. Come on. We are privileged to have the presence of our former President, Director of the Center for Canon Law Studies, Professor of Canon Law in the person of Most Reverend Dr. Arul Silvam Rayappan, the Bishop of Salem. There is a cordiality and familiarity between us and the Bishop. Thank you for your in-depth and enriching convocation address, dear Bishop. Thank you. We have amidst us Very Reverend Sister Pauline Augustine, Provincial Superior of St. Anne's, Bangalore. Your presence has enhanced the dignity of this convocation program. You are an example for the student sisters here and to all of us. Thank you for awarding the rank holders, dear sister. Thank you very much. We have with us our president, the head of the institute, who is an unassuming visionary and a guide. The institute is heading towards greater heights by his able leadership. We have with us Reverend Father Rector of the seminary. We support you to the work of the institute. We thank you, both of you, dear Reverend Father President and dear Father Rector. Thank you. We are grateful to the treasurer of the institute, Reverend Dr. Sunil Kumar. He has provided the financial support for the program and arranged refreshments. The controller of the institute is instrumental in preparing the certificates. Thank you, dear Father, treasurer, and controller. We acknowledge the presence of the officials, the deans, the HODs, seminary and the staff, institute staff, directors of the affiliated and aggregated institutes, superiors of the study houses, guests and students. Thank you for your valuable presence. We have the student body led by SRs and ASRs, CRs and ACRs. They have slogged to organize the program under the leadership of Brother Berna. Gita rollers have sung the opening prayer with guidance of Reverend Father Chinnappan. The secretaries of the institute, together with David, have contributed in organizing the program. The refectorians have arranged the refreshments. We are grateful for your service and participation. Give them a big hand. Once again, thanking everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father, for your words of gratitude. Dear brothers and sisters, I request all of you to rise for the Institute anthem. May I also request you to please remain standing after the Institute anthem as the dignitaries leave the hall. Reminder, as you are moving out of the hall, please mark your attendance. Refreshment is served for all in the theology refectory. Kindly proceed towards the refectory. Thank you and have a great day.
Oh, sing the great apostle in memory of the road, the basis of that fabric which was not damned to show to our Creator's glory, that festal chant burns. We praise the second shepherd to glorify the first. O Peter, light of doctrine and dawns of holy love, the very types of fervor and wisdom from above. Sing the great apostle in memory of the road, of the basis of that fabric which feels not damned to show, Creator's glory, that facile church above. We praise the second shepherd to glorify the first.